Just over 30 days till Election Day, party leaders are hitting the campaign trail. It's all about control of the House this November. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy stumping for seats all across the country, including some key tight races. Correspondent Kellie Meyer is live in Washington with more on this, Kellie.
Well, Nichole, you're going to hear from both Democrats and Republicans saying that they are going to win in November. But really, it all comes down to the voters, and anything can happen in this final crucial month before the midterms. We're already seeing a few October surprises now 7 days into the month. And with 32 days away, two political heavyweights, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, are hitting the campaign trail. They are crisscrossing the country. They're amping up candidates in key swing districts, and they're also focusing on fundraising, bringing in the cash. Pelosi has already raised $1 billion for her party over the last 2 decades in leadership. And one Republican strategist telling me today where McCarthy is strongest is raising money. And bringing in the dollars here is key to either keeping or capturing control of Congress in November. Right now, the odds are in Republicans' favor because historically the party not in the White House tends to pick up seats during the midterms. Democrats currently are holding a slim edge in Congress. Here's the outlook right now from folks on both sides of the aisle. Take a listen.
It would be extremely difficult for Democrats to hold on to the House. I think it's still within the realm of the possible, but the bigger question is probably how big or how small will the Republican majority be in the new House?
I think that the over-under right now for Republicans is, at the end of the day, they'll have about 232 seats. A majority is 218. So I think they'll have a pretty healthy majority. And I think the Democrats will lose control.
McCarthy is aiming for a healthy majority, so he doesn't have any problems getting things passed here. He's likely to succeed Pelosi as House Speaker if Republicans take back the House from Democrats. But the big question here is then what happens with Pelosi? She's 82 years old. She has 35 years here in Congress, and she hasn't said whether she'll stay or if she'll go. Her former chief of staff telling me today that the only person that can answer that question is Pelosi herself. Nichole.
All right, Kellie, thank you for that. Well, for more on the future of the House, let's bring in Michael Schnell, House reporter from our partners at The Hill. You know, Michael, do Pelosi and McCarthy have the ability to sway some of these toss-up races?
Nichole, they certainly hope so. I mean, as Kellie mentioned, both leaders have been crisscrossing the country, bringing in boatloads of money, and they've also been very intentional in their messaging on the campaign trail. Speaker Pelosi has been focusing on achievements that Democrats have notched in the past 2 years, passing the Inflation Reduction Act, passing a gun package, approving an infrastructure package. Republicans, on the other hand, have been touting their commitment to America, which is their midterm messaging and policy platform. Especially with Leader McCarthy, he's been wanting to show what would a GOP majority look like, what would be a priority in a GOP majority. So when it comes to traveling and speaking to voters and appearing with candidates, bringing in that money, which then goes to advertisements and other campaign strategies, and being intentional in their messaging, they're really hoping that in this final stretch to Election Day, they can help move the needle in their direction.
You know, and Michael, a lot of times we focus on the East Coast, but there's a lot of focus on the West Coast in the coming days for Pelosi and the president, as well as McCarthy. Where do you think each House leader really needs to most focus their attention?
Well, first on California, Cook Political Report says that there are 3 seats right now that are considered toss-ups in California. So that could be one reason why. Also, of course, home states to both Pelosi and McCarthy. But 538, an election forecaster, put out a really interesting article saying, you know, conventional wisdom says you need to focus on what's most flippable for each party. For Democrats, those are Republican-held seats in liberal districts. We see some of those in California and Michigan. And for Republicans, those are Democrat-held seats in more conservative-leaning districts in places like Florida, Tennessee, Arizona. So we will most likely see lawmakers focusing and the parties focusing on those areas because those are where they have the best chance of flipping seats in November.
You know, and Michael, we just heard Kellie mention it in her piece there, but can't let you go without asking you about, you know, who the next House Speaker will be if Democrats do, in fact, hold on to power. Is there a clear successor if Pelosi steps aside?
That is the million-dollar question in the halls of the Capitol right now that everybody is wondering. I will note one thing. It's a big if. Just before we came on air, I checked 538's outlook for House majority come November. Republicans are favored over Democrats to take control of the House, 70% to 30%. So it's a big if, but of course we have to talk about it. One name that has been floated for a potential successor to Pelosi is Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat from New York, who is currently the chair of the House Democratic Caucus. If he were to become Speaker, he would be the first black individual to lead either party in either chamber, which would be significant. Another name that we've seen in reports is Congressman Adam Schiff, a Democrat from California. He's currently the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. We've seen him a lot as a member of the January 6th Select Committee. We also saw him frequently during the Trump impeachment proceedings when he was on the Intelligence Committee. And then a third name that has been that's been floated is Steny Hoyer, who's currently the House Majority Leader. For years, he has been number 2 to Pelosi. Several reports have said that Hoyer wants the top spot if Pelosi were to move. I spoke to a House Democratic lawmaker last month, and that individual told me that if Pelosi steps aside, Hoyer would be a strong contender for the role.
And of course, that's a big if Democrats retain their power. All right, Michael, thank you for that. Voters in 36 states will also cast ballots for governor next month. One of those states, Illinois, where last night incumbent Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker and his Republican challenger Darren Bailey faced off in a debate streamed live on newsnationnow.com. The issues, though, overshadowed by a back and forth over who is the biggest threat to the state.
JB's an arrogant liar. This budget to him is a shell game.
Well, over and over again, you've heard Darren Bailey lie just for the last 10 minutes.
Governor Pritzker holds a double-digit lead right now over Bailey, according to the most recent polling. NewsNation is the exclusive network home of the Georgia Senate debate next Friday, October 14th at 6 p.m. Eastern. It is Debate Night in America, hosted by Leland Vitter, live from Savannah. And then afterward, Chris Cuomo has live analysis and reaction only here on NewsNation. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.